Good morning. Welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 13th day of January 2025. I'm still getting used to saying the new date, seeing the new date. Anyhow, hope you guys all had a great weekend. We're going to have a great show on today. First, we start out with Vicky Davis, and we're going to be talking about the technocratic tyranny, technocratic communism, and how the nation has really been taken over by the means of the technology sector and what that means to all of us. At 10:30, we have a very special guest on also, and that's Brian Matta. We're going to be talking about the human trafficking, the child trafficking, and the connection to Guatemala today. I don't know about you guys, but this whole nonsense with what's happening to the children, I feel is like the beginning of and the end of everything that's going on, quite honestly. When you look at how many pedophiles, I'm going to say it here, there are in the British government, in our government, people that have been convicted of pedophilia, as well as all of these organizations that are moving children around. It's a hard start to a Monday, but that's the reality that we live in. And until every last child is safe and in a good environment, we can't give up this fight. And it's got to be talked about. I know it's difficult, but we need to talk about that, because I don't know, but I don't feel good having an easy life if I know somebody else is really in the path of danger. So with that said, I'm going to bring on Vicky. Yay, Vicky, how you doing this morning?
Hi, fine, thank you. Yeah,
Awesome.
It's a deep subject for a Monday morning.
But that's what we do.
Yeah, but it's so important. And I personally believe that the child trafficking is, for many purposes, but a big one is to compromise our public officials so that they go along with the agenda.
The blackmail.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they try to buy you off. They try to buy you off. They try to do anything they can to get you to capitulate to their little evil system. Trust me, I saw it, and I'm still seeing it. There's an issue going on that I'm familiar with in another state that I can't name because I think it's going to go into a legal protocol. There's probably Russian mafia money involved in it. Not to say I'm demonizing Russia, because I think Putin's done a pretty good job with his people, but there's infiltration on every single level. And they're working through the developers because at the end of the day, they want the land, they want the natural resources. That's what was going on and is going on in the state of Michigan right now. I had a guy on last week, Doug Force. I am totally intrigued by him. And the reason being is that Doug has the Myth is Canada documentary that he was behind. He helped write it and such, and really proves that both the government of Canada and the United States, he can prove that, is totally and completely illegitimate. And how far back it goes and why it's happened. He's a little like you are, where he's done a beast level amount of research. I mean, I feel like I'm 2 years old talking to this guy, just kind of like I do you sometimes with the information you bring out, because it's stuff that none of us were taught. And unless you were an unrelenting researcher, such as yourself, you would never come across this. It's not in mainstream fake stream media. It's not even in the alternative media. And this is another thing I wanted to bring up today, because we're talking about technology. I would have to say that a huge portion of our alternative media they're probably political operatives.
Absolutely.
There's no way that they are getting this popular without somebody assisting them. And it's a gut level feeling, but when I see somebody such as let's see, who's the new guy that's on the scene that seems to be everywhere, and everybody's listening to him constantly, and I've got a lot of questions, because not only is he out there, but he's got CIA people on that are telling what the real truth is. Now, I've had Kevin Shipp on, who was ex-CIA. I talked to everyone. However, when I say that, Kevin isn't telling you what the CIA is doing, other than the fact that he's very compassionate, saying, you have no idea how deep this runs. People have no idea how much nonsense is going on, how much nation building that they do, how many assassinations are involved in, the fact that they are moving the drugs and the weapons and the people around, killing them if they get in the way, shutting them up by killing them if they won't stop it, which is just totally amazing that myself and several other people have not been eliminated. And if I ever am, I'm not suicidal, just so you know, not even close. And so I want my damn country back. That's what I want. And I don't want to play ball with these globalists. Now, I will talk to people on occasion. I put a picture out this weekend when I was at the auto show with Gilchrist, our lieutenant governor. He was there, very large man. He's 6'8", so I look like I'm about 2 years old next to him, right? But he was part of the World Economic Forum, young leaders. There's a lot of people that have been a part of that. Vivek was, and I think we need to ask some real questions. When I see what's going on with both Vivek and Elon, a lot of questions come to mind. They are pushing the H-1B visas. That is indentured servitude. I don't care what you say. If this is such a great thing, and I'm going to say it, somebody's going to call me a racist for it. No, this is just information. Average IQ in India is 70.
Oh.
So why in the hell are we bringing people over here? Why aren't they over there utilizing the best and the brightest? When they bring them over on these H-1B visas, they're promising people $200,000 a year career. They're body shops that are moving these people over here. They're indentured servants. They can't leave the companies for 5 years. And a lot of them are getting placed as, say, janitors and in, not highly skilled tech jobs. A lot of them are being placed whatever. They're getting about $40 an hour. And the body shops, probably the ones that are pushing the H-1B visas, are taking the money up and beyond that.
Well, they take the body shops, the consulting firms, they take the majority of the money.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they pay the people as little as they can get away with, which is
it's
pretty
criminal.
small. Yeah, pretty small when you consider people coming from a third world country, which India is.
I've been there, I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've known other people that have been there, and it's not a pleasant place to go.
Now, I'm going to tell you, the one thing I really liked about India, there were things that I loved about India when I was there. I mean, the people are not like Americans. They're different. They're not guarded. So like whatever they have, they're so gracious. They want to make sure that you're okay, and they really do care. It was almost a culture shock when I got back, because Americans protect what is theirs. Very protective compared to what I saw in India. I love the Indian people. No two ways about it. But when you look at the mechanics of what's happening, it seems to me like they're being victimized, quite honestly. It seems like it's human trafficking. I'm just going to call it what it is. So how can we possibly have people at the top pushing these H-1B visas, knowing full damn well, you can't tell me they don't know that there's body shops putting people into indentured servitude? There are not enough people asking the right questions.
Mm-hmm. Well, globalization and the build out of the global networks for the global systems under the United Nations, that did call for a lot of IT people to build these systems. But
why
they should
aren't you utilizing them there?
Well, that's a good question.
Because there's no money in it, because they can't bring them over and skim off the top and put them into indentured servitude. That's why they're bringing them there. If they were that good at tech, which I know they can cross all kinds of barriers to get it done, they don't need to be here to do the work. So there's my question. Why are they pushing these visas to bring them over? only answering that I can come up with is there human trafficking in them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's cheap labor, no question about it.
Replacing American workers.
Uh-huh. Well, they've had a war on our country, I would say, since 1990, when, well, no, actually, it would be 1983 when they created the International Zone on the Border. And that was really breaking down our borders. And the alleged purpose of that treaty, it was a treaty signed by Reagan in 1983, was for border cleanup, and it was kind of understated, but public health. Public health is a function of the environment. And so when you look at the UN agenda, it would be the two biggest things are the environment, all the sustainable development crap, and then public health under the World Health Organization, right? So those are the two strategic areas to conquer the United States.
I got to tell you, I really feel like it's all a big farm type thing. They're farming us, they're farming our talent, and the labor and such. They're getting to the point with automation that they're not going to need us too much, and all these chips in the brain and everything else they're doing to hack humanity. I mean, Harari said that he's a psychopath. You ever listen to that guy?
I have listened to him,
Oh
and
man,
he is a psycho.
yeah,
But that's
human beings. We can do whatever we want with them. These people that are sitting at the top are psychopaths, and anybody that goes along with it, they're in bed with them for money.
Yeah, yeah, and I, for the life of me, I can't figure out why they would do that, except that they're compromised in one way or another, or they have no human feelings and they are just in it for the money, for their own selfish reasons. Because why else would you sell out humanity, which is really what we're talking about? It's the sellout of humanity to psychopaths.
Yes. Well, and I think I'm looking for a connection here because when I look at, there's a company out there called Ambrosia. And have you heard about that? It's where they do the transfusions of young people's blood.
Oh, I've heard about that. Yeah, but not the name of the company, Ambrosia. That's apparently a very big thing in Hollywood, to keep the people looking young.
Well, I'm going to tell you, go right back to the Bible, because the Bible talks about the life is in the blood. And when you look back through time at how many people through history had, they're bathing in the blood of like 600 virgins and that sort of thing. I mean, it's just nasty. It really is. Sorry, we just ran right into it this morning. But I think that we're going to find out that there's a lot of people, and people that we actually think are good people, that are tied into this. We can't get blinded by the celebrity class of individual, no matter who they are. If there are bad ties there, you have to question them. Palantir is one of the connections that I have some real concerns about.
Yeah,
as well as others.
I ran into them when I was tracing our vital statistics records, because I went down to our state capitol. I wanted to get a birth certificate. I couldn't walk in and get a birth certificate. And I've done that probably, 4 or 5 times over the years. But the last time I went down there to get a copy of a birth certificate, I couldn't get it. I had to fill out a form and they would mail it to me. And
really?
so I thought, well, that's bizarre. So I started doing some research on that. Turns out that I our vital statistics records are over in London, and it's connected with Palantir and the United Nations. And so, and I suppose that was the idea, was probably presented as a way to ensure identity for buying and selling online, so that they would have a record and ID. By the way, all these global systems, it's all about inventorying everything.
Because they own everything, or they want to. It's the whole World Economic Forum sales pitch. Oh, you will own nothing and like it, basically.
Yeah. So, in these, the one good thing about IT people is that they're logical. So once you pick up a thread and you start researching it, just apply the logic to what they're doing, because there's always a cover story for what they're doing. But then behind the cover story is the real explanation, and it's always the build out of these global IT systems, which will ultimately be a panopticon to control everybody and everything. And so it's these networked systems that are imprisoning people, basically.
I'm looking up here something, and let's see if I can get this figured out. Yep. So the Palantir connections are very, very concerning. All I can say is, and we do have to question things. But then too, we don't even know if people are who they say they are. I'm sorry, but I'm not buying the fake Biden that they got out there at all.
And, yeah, well, and the fake
Gavin Newsom. Did you see Gavin Newsom lately? I'm not buying that. It doesn't even look like the guy.
Yeah. Well, it could be a body double.
Here's another thing. I was at the auto show this past weekend on Friday night. Oh, and here's a happy thought, right? Went to the auto show. Fun. I love cars. Okay. I absolutely love automobiles. I like cars. I like, I'm a nerd. I like aircraft. I like all that stuff. I like looking at how they are powered. I like how they're designed. I mean, I like everything about them. I especially like the vintage cars, quite honestly. So, but I like looking at the new concept cars and everything. But what was really odd this weekend is that it is traditional, I believe, at the Detroit Auto Show, which is a big deal. It's a really big deal. It's a charity thing, money supposedly going to the kids' organizations and such. And Gilchrist was there, but Gretchen Whitmer was not. And that traditionally, the governor is supposed to address the crowd at this. I don't know how many have been missed, but I want to look it up because very conspicuous that Gretchen Whitmer was not at the Detroit Auto Show this weekend. So I have a lot of questions because people that we're seeing out there are not who they appear. There's all kinds of doubles. And I have to tell you, I've got to wonder if they're even there anymore or if they've been picked up. It really is a question we have to ask because we don't have the answers to this. But I can tell you when I see something that doesn't look right, I will question it. Sit back and just go, well, like my grandpa did. Well, what do we have here? This is out of order. It doesn't make sense. And there were other things I saw this year that I've been there before that were different this year than they've been in the past. Very interesting.
Yeah, I took a gun class, and it was taught by a police officer, and he said, you always have to be on the lookout for the JDLRs. And a JDLR is it just doesn't look right. And, when you see something that just doesn't look right, make a note, in your mind or whatever.
I got to wonder if she's gone. Really, I really wonder if she is in fact gone because we really haven't seen much of her. And a lot of the stuff that I've seen, even with President Trump, I got to tell you, I've got a pretty good eye for stuff that is not necessarily always apparent. I think a lot of the stuff we're seeing of everyone is CGI, We've got a lot of body doubles out there. And I think that's not all bad, because if they're protecting somebody, why would you put somebody out in the public who could easily be eliminated?
Mm-hmm.
You would never do that. It's illogical, totally illogical. So do I believe that President Trump has been at these rallies? Not a chance. Do I believe he's on a golf course playing golf and looking, trying to be normal? Not a chance. There's no way that he would be out there unless they've got something that can zap people from a mile away and or more, and know that with accuracy what their intentions are. That's a lot of people to try to sort through. And when you look at the proximity to the water that's out there, there's not a chance that he's out there in public.
Yeah, you could be right on that. And there's really no way to tell.
No, but it's illogical. It's illogical to have him out in public. I did evaluations of when he was at Mount Rushmore. There's not a chance that it was him. You know how hard it would be to secure that, to really secure that area? Be kind of difficult. But I looked at the camera angles. There were only 3 camera angles, and they couldn't render it correctly with the lighting. And then I zoomed in on President Trump, and it wasn't him. The nose on whoever was there was too big for President Trump, and the gate was off. But
interesting. Yeah.
there were only 3 camera angles in it, and they did a lousy job of matching the lighting. Same thing with when he was at Whirlpool. The Whirlpool, there was something wrong with the video, and that came out the same time as the COVID stuff, and almost all of the stuff that we saw coming out of China was CG, in my opinion. And they were using gaming. What I saw was they were using gaming software to do it. And right. I'm sorry, but I perhaps have a few different skills that I was born with, but there was no way that they were showing what they were showing you was what they were telling you, because I looked at how it was rendering the background. I looked at the background buildings and the foreground and how it was set up. There was absolutely no possible way that it was being filmed by a physical camera. Thereby, it was gaming software. Only thing that had the ability to produce the type of video that they were putting out there. Guaranteed. And I put money on it. No matter, if I were a betting person, I would bet anyone any amount of money that they want on that one, that I'm right on that one.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't dispute that at all. I've seen, I really don't have an eye for art, but I am observant. And I've seen a few people that I thought were body doubles, that they didn't use the same person. But I know that just about everything that we're told is a lie in some way or another. Little lies, big lies, doesn't matter. They're creating an artificial reality for us. And they're writing the scripts for how we will live in the future. And the thing is that it is very difficult to overcome a normalcy bias, your normalcy bias. I mean, I saw that there was a global problem a long time ago, but even still, for some things, it's difficult to overcome the normalcy bias. Like, I've been looking at the military. I do think September 11th was a military coup d'etat. And the reason why I do is because in 1995, they established the World Trade Organization. That's number one. That separated our economy from our political system, but they also defined 11 global systems that they were going to build. Global health is one of those systems. Now, back in 1990, George Herbert Walker Bush made the first inquiry of the idea of nationalizing medical records. And, establishing a database of medical records for everybody.
How did
Well,
that work for us all? He didn't work too well for JFK's life and health.
yeah, no.
Connection there with the CIA and Bush.
Hmm. Um, but okay, if you're looking at the idea of building a national database of medical records, who are the logical organizations within the United States to do that? DOD and the VA, because they have the largest populations of medical records, right? And then you add in, well, Medicare doesn't have medical records, but they had medical insurance records, right? So that's halfway there, for medical records. So it really was the DOD and VA given the task to build the national system of medical records and to implement probably global health. So that's what I've been looking at, going back and looking at the older videos on DOD and VA. And you have to listen carefully because it's like snippets that are thrown in there where they include the civilian populations in there. And so, um, and 9/11, I mean, come on, there you go. Uh, that is emergency, right? And global emergency management is one of the global systems, by the way. So
It's all so interconnected and unbelievable how this beast system has evolved. I was talking to somebody this morning about really how the banking system, basically Russia kicked the Bolsheviks out, and how they reformulated themselves and decided to, they were really the ones that were behind the Federal Reserve, in my opinion.
well, it could be. Um, it's hard to say, but throughout my early life, the Soviets were always the enemy, always the enemy. But that's really not true. I mean, when I was like elementary school, we would do the duck and cover exercises
I
because the
remember.
Soviet Union was going to nuke us any
I
day now.
remember.
Hmm. But as you go back in history, you find out that our government behind the national security curtain has been working with the Soviets all along. It was Richard Nixon who signed the legislation to create the EPA. And then in 1972, um, they started the disarmament talks. He signed an environmental agreement with the Soviets, and then the SALT talks and SALT II. And then they established the G7, that group, and they signed the Helsinki Final Accords, which, if you look at the Helsinki Final Accords, it is a list of things that the United States is going to cooperate with in building a global system. So we really have a global communist system. That's what I believe. And
I think so too, and I think they're managing people as well as the resources and everything as their own asset. They basically kind of took everything,
yeah,
and we're just supposed to do what our little puppet master overlords tell us what to do, which is so wrong on so many levels that it's hard to describe, and it's really hard, I think, for everybody to even get their arms around this, because of the fact that we can't even relate to this kind of evil.
yeah. Oh, I totally agree. And most people are just focused like within the borders of the United States. They watch our politicians, you know, do their song and dance. And that's not where what's going on in the world. You got to erase the fact that you're an American. Look at the world as if you are the outsider looking in, and see what everybody's doing, including what's going on outside the borders. And so,
do you think we have any borders globally at all, or are almost all the countries just proxies at this point in time?
I think none of the G7 countries have borders. They were the ones that negotiated the open borders, and then when the U.S. signed the WTO, that basically created the WTO, created the international economy. That was globalization. And that separated our economy from our political system. And our politicians have been puppets ever since the WTO was signed. Because what did the WTO create? It was a free trade system for goods and services. Well, what's a service? A service is a person or a job, right? Look at an accounting firm. An accounting firm is nothing except its people, the accountants. That's what they sell, are the services. And as far as the H-1Bs are concerned, that's what they are. They are service providers. The people who are walking across our borders, what are they? They are service providers. So they basically eliminated our security as a nation state when they opened up our borders for a globalized economy.
And what year was that, the WTO?
1995.
1995.
Is when it became effective. And NAFTA was the initial agreement, with Canada, Mexico, and the U.S., and that began harmonizing the what you would call the basic elements of an economy, like the definitions. This is the one that really got me. Definitions of what a product is. Okay, and I don't know if you remember in 2005, I think it was, when George Bush met with the Premier of Canada, and I think Vincente Fox was there too, in what was called the Security and Prosperity Partnership. Well, when reporters were interviewing them, I don't know who it was, probably George Bush said, when asked what you guys are doing, he said, "We're just talking about chocolate and jelly beans." Because what is the definition of a jelly bean? I wrote an article about that. What does it mean to be a jelly bean?
Can you put that in the private chat a minute, and I'll pull that up?
You bet.
Okay, what does it mean to be a jelly bean? Continue, please.
Okay. When you're thinking about definitions of things, what is a jelly bean? If you strip it down to the essence of what it is, it's jellied sugar. It's just a jellied sugar lump. And so what I was trying to show in this article is that if you change the basic definitions underlying the economy, you've changed your whole damn business structure, right? So if you have statistical reports that you produce, and where you used to have a category for jelly beans, that's zeroed out, and you have a new category called jellied sugar, and it is loaded with the statistics of what it is. The zero in the jelly bean category, does that mean that there's a shortage of jelly beans? No, it's just that you've redefined them. You put them in a different category.
Well, it's just like unemployment. They do the same thing with our unemployment numbers.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And what I found a few years after I wrote that jelly bean article was that what they did with IT programmers and systems analysts is that they moved those people, which included me, to the category of white-collar executives, and they defined new categories of software engineers. Well, we old-timers wouldn't be as presumptuous to call ourselves software engineers, even though that's really kind of, what we do. We architected systems. We built systems. But when you think of your business environment and they depend on those, I think it was SIC codes, to tell you what the status is, you look at the report. Programmers, there's a 0 there now because they moved the statistics for programmers to the white-collar executive category. See, that's how they play with statistics.
Well, statistics can be used to manipulate everything. That's one thing I know about numbers. You can make them say anything depending on which numbers you use. And so just like the polls are all manipulated. They, let's just say I go out there to my neighborhood and say, I'm going to poll the neighborhood of do a random sample in the neighborhood or so, which really is never all that random, and go out into the neighborhood and I choose 3 or 4 people that are in the neighborhood. And every one of them agrees that President Trump is the rightful president of the United States. Well, 100% of the people believe that. And yes, who are they talking to? What areas? And what are their qualifiers? Do they actually even keep them in, or do they just grab the ones that they want to say what they want the outcomes to be?
Oh, I think you can count on the fact that they select the areas where they're polling very carefully, so that they can show statistics, whatever it is that they want to show. I mean, statistics are used for fraud, really. It's like the unemployment numbers. Why don't they give us actual numbers? And
right.
Estimate, it's because they don't want people to know the actual number, even though it's a very, they have it, they just don't report it.
Well, it's just like, when they talk about the budget. Budget. I'm like, I don't care what the budget is. They can't keep a budget anyway.
Yeah.
What are they actually spending? Oh, you got to pull teeth to get that information out of them.
Mm-hmm.
They will not cough that information up, and they will do whatever they can to hide that. But budget is sort of like guidelines, rather than actual numbers. There's a line in the Pirates of the Caribbean. They're guidelines rather than actual rules. And like, say, a governor can choose to spend the money how they want. They'll have a budget, but that means it's budgeted to it, but it doesn't mean they have to spend it.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and around 2008, when the economy melted down, there were high-level meetings, and one of the meetings, they were talking about moving to the international system that provide guidelines and not actual rules. What they did to our country is that they deconstructed our regulatory state as far as it pertains to corporations. So, because of the 1930s and the Gilded Age and when millionaires went crazy, and then the reforms started coming, they started regulating, like the Public Utilities Holding Company Act of 1935, to prevent these wealthy people, these wealthy businessmen, from dominating the whole damn economy and the people. Well, in the 1980s, they began deregulating. They deregulated telecommunications. And as it proceeded, they deregulated the stock market. They deregulated the insurance companies. They deregulated everything that we needed to be able to keep the business environment honest, and one of the things that happened with the utilities, when they broke the Public Utilities Holding Company Act, preventing the utilities from having holding companies that were investing money in things other than the utilities. The deal that was made for the utilities was that they were allowed to charge cost plus a profit margin. And so all the costs that went into providing us with the infrastructure for electricity, those are all costs. And then they added an amount on top for profit. That's why utilities were always a very safe investment, because the utilities were regulated. Well, what I found in Idaho is that they, and it was just kind of accidental that I found it, but there was a big development of homes that was built on the outer edge of the county in Boise, 160 homes out in the middle of nowhere. There were no roads, there was no water, there was no sewer, there was nothing. It was like they dropped this housing development right in the middle of farm country. Well, it turned out that when you traced it back, the money actually came from the Arizona power system. And there were holding companies that money passed through, were laundered through to build this subprime mortgage location. Star, Idaho was probably about, 25 miles outside of Boise. There was nothing there, nothing to draw people to buy homes there. It was almost like it was built to fail.
Well, we've been talking about this too. It's the land that they really want. So how many businesses go build outside of, say, a downtown area, which destroys the old downtown town centers?
Mm-hmm.
Then they build up all around it. Well, where they really make money, they make money on the leases. They make money on the tax dollars there. They don't. And so honestly, it kind of looks like our government is sort of moved from a service organization to a for-profit entity, whom all the players are making money off of it as they pull the strings.
Well, that's because,
but yes,
when they decided to build these technocratic systems, they basically became the facilitator for big business. When they globalized our economy, a lot of our old companies were bought by foreign entities. So we don't even know what is an American company anymore, as opposed to what is a company that's actually owned by communist China.
Well, unless you know the owners,
mm-hmm.
and it's a family business and you know the owners, I can guarantee you there's foreign money involved in it. The developers that are developing all over the place, guaranteed it's all foreign money.
Yeah. Well, and that's what caused me to start researching what was going on in Boise, Idaho, because a delegation of 23 communist Chinese arrived in Meridian, Idaho, which was just a little farm town outside of Boise. But delegation of 23 to look at investing in a zone that was being designated there in Meridian. Well, it turns out that the zone was called the core, and it was a health zone. They had it designated to be a health zone, and both universities were involved in it, and that's probably what that housing development was for, because they were anticipating foreign money to come in and invest in this special economic zone in Meridian.
Wow. The word core keeps coming up associated with a lot of businesses. We've got Corewell Health, and I believe they own Priority as well as Spectrum. They're all tied in. They kind of own each other and parts of each other. Same thing happens with BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street Capital, Arabella. They all own major shares in each other. So they're basically, the corporations own each other. When they went to giving corporations personhood, we really had a problem. This is another thing that I've been blowing the warning signal. I'm putting the warning signal out there on this, is that when you have a corporation that has personhood, do you think it's going to stop there? Or is it going to be able to be, is it going to be controlling not only that, but through other means, our elections, every single thing around our life, and on a local level, the amount of local people who are in positions who are breaking the law, and they admit to it. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. Shocking.
Yeah. Well, and that's what came as a surprise to us when all of a sudden corporations could contribute as much as they want to our election campaigns, to our politicians. I think it was Montana that that even had to change their law because they prohibited corporate money from coming into their election system. So, yeah, basically they allowed the corporations, once they globalized, to basically buy up our country, buy up our government.
They own it. I believe they kind of already own it to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very hopeful that President Trump, the rightful president of the United States, gets in there and turns things around. I'm very, very hopeful. I'm hoping that things go well. I really am.
Well, I
have some
hope,
concerns.
I hope so, but I don't hold out a hell of a lot of hope, truthfully.
Why is that?
Well, because he selected Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to be the Department of Efficiency, but he made him an outside independent agency. And we know that Elon Musk is building out the global health system. That's why they want the H-1Bs. Because, think about the workforce that you would need for a global health system. You need a lot of people, not just the IT people, but
we already have that, though, don't we?
Well, they're building it out. It's a global system. They're building it out everywhere. I watched a video this morning. It was a press conference of DOD, the Assistant Secretary for the Department of Defense, and he talked about how they reconstructed the Iraqi health system. Well, they're building the same model everywhere. That's another thing that you can count on with IT people. Once they get a working model of something, what they're trying to build, they replicate it, everywhere. So the health system that they built in Iraq, and it does have to do with telemedicine, by the way, which they're now pushing. They replicate it everywhere. That's what they were doing in Libya. By the way, they tried to make it seem like that Chris Stevens was running guns. And I don't believe that for a second. Chris Stevens was in Libya to meet with the emergency room physicians. There was a doctor that was coming with him, but he wasn't with the doctor when he got killed. He was at that special warehouse or whatever.
keep talking a second. I've got to grab a phone call, but I'll be listening to you and keep explaining this, because that whole thing with Benghazi is just weird.
Yeah. Well, it's because they lied to us of what it was about. Chris Stevens and the other two guys, they were there to meet with the emergency room physician in the Benghazi hospital. And their purpose in meeting was to talk about the global health system that they wanted to build. Apparently, the emergency room director, the doctor who runs their emergency room, wanted to participate in global health. Or, maybe he didn't. Maybe that's why Chris Stevens got killed. But the purpose for Chris Stevens being there was not what we were told. And so, but, they're doing this build out of the global health systems all around the world. And they are having the American taxpayers pay for it, which is just straight up theft, absolute straight up theft from the
Say that
American.
again. They had the taxpayers pay for. Say that again, because I finished my little phone call here that I had to pick up on.
Okay, for the global health system, they are building out the global health system, which is a networked system with doctors and nurses and technology like connected X-ray machines, and so that they can transmit images and all of that. They are using American taxpayer money to do that, which I consider to be straight up theft from the American people.
Oh my gosh, they have stolen so much money from the American people. Look at their little proxy wars that they have all over the world. What did they do? Just send like how much money to Iran just went that Biden sent to Iran just in the last couple of days?
Mm-hmm.
Like, was it another 10 million, or I don't remember, 10 million, or it's 10 million or $10 billion. It's probably 10 billion at this point. That, because it doesn't matter to them. The zeros don't matter. They just like money fetty everywhere. This is our money. This is our land. They had no right to take it. They don't hold any titles to this. All of them committed treason. And every one of them that's involved in this needs to be prosecuted for treason, charged for treason, and hung for treason.
I completely agree. Now, something I just figured out, as I was looking at the DOD and the VA's involvement in the nationalization of medical records and the global health system. They've had our military fighting all over the world, right? Beginning after the Second World War, the first war was in Korea. None of those wars were for the actual United States. Not a damn one of them.
Oh, yeah.
And so, what I got out of the hearing or the press conference that I was watching, I guess it was a hearing, is that they were going to have the VA be the lead agency for the build out of the global health system in the United States. And it occurred to me that all of those wars that they fought, the outcome of it was that they created veterans, right? And so we have a huge number of veterans that's like a lifetime commitment for us to pay for wars that were not even for us. And then the insult to injury is that they are using all of those veterans for the build out of global health, to run and manage global health. And that's the real significance of that big VA hospital in Arizona.
Wow. Well, that makes sense. And look at anything that's in Arizona, I've got to look at and say the proximity to the border has got to be the proximity to the borders and that sort of thing. What else are they using it for? I've got to ask the question. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what else are they using this for?
Yeah. Well, it's to, everything is designed around the idea of eliminating people. That's what IT systems do, is that it eliminates the need for people. And so, your costs are lower if you can replace, 10 workers with one machine. That's the way business is. You know
Well,
that.
we're just worthless feeders to these people.
Yes.
So that's all that we are. We're worthless. If they could get rid of every single one of us and hang out with their little pedophile selves doing all sorts of things that they do that are nasty, then that's what they want.
Yes. Yeah. But they've monetized us in the meantime for genetic research.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so they'll be getting their pound of flesh uh, out of the poor people simply by using them for medical research. The whole design of the global health, it went from there was an agreement in 1978 called the Declaration of Alma-Ata, and the idea was to provide primary health to everybody around the world. Well, they replaced that concept of providing health care to universal insurance. And an insurance company, as a middleman between the doctor and the patient, is the perfect place to both um, control the physician, direct his activities, and to control the kind of health care that you get or don't get. And so I think that's why that guy Mangione killed that insurance exec, because I think they're using AI to make decisions on, his physician when he would get pre-authorization for something. All the insurance company has to do is say no. And what happens when the insurance company says no is that all the premiums that you paid for insurance have just gone, to the profit of the corporation. And whether you get any treatment or not is dependent upon probably what they're using is an AI system to determine whether or not you get health care. Well, that AI system, there are no human values built into that AI system. It's a decision support system, and you have no idea what factors they take into consideration when the machine is making the decision on what you get. So that's why it's so monstrous what they're doing, because it's crimes against humanity, but they're not crimes that you can see. Now, it came out a little bit, when Mangione shot that guy in the back, but it still hasn't gotten the attention. The system itself hasn't gotten the attention that it needs to get.
Well, look at K2 that was involved in the security for J6. I don't know how much everybody's looked into that, but look into K2.
Who is K2?
Well, there's a bunch of organizations that are out there which are assassination organizations.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's pretty much right out there. You just have to look into it a little bit. You were talking about I was looking things up while you were talking. You were talking about how the wars had nothing to do with winning the war. This is a really interesting story. I'm going to go back to Colonel Robin Olds, and how they in Vietnam, he was called back into service, and it was really interesting. But the politicians, they screwed this up so bad it wasn't even funny. They basically would not let them fight the war, and this is proof positive that the politicians were honestly trying to see our brave men and women who fought for this country executed through their policies. And what really happened there in Operation Bolo? Look it up if you don't know what it is. It's an amazing story. And every one of these politicians that make these decisions that put people in jeopardy, once again, they need to be tried for treason, and if they're convicted, hung for treason. Everyone.
I would totally go for that. Yeah, if you look at Vietnam
Sorry,
is
I got off on
a
a
good
tangent.
example. And what did that do? All the men that were killed there, those are men that were never had the opportunity to have families, to procreate, to, you
They
know.
sure as hell give the soy boys all kinds of all kinds of a pass on everything, but you get the guys that are yay toxic masculinity, which I'm for. I'm all for toxic masculinity.
You and
You
me
know,
both.
I think that's great. All of you
If
guys
you
out
don't have toxic masculinity, I don't want you. I don't.
you
I
know what?
don't want a girlfriend.
I'm
Don't
going to
want a
say
guy.
it right now. It's like, bring on the toxic masculinity. I think it should be a title of honor. If you guys are out there and has toxic masculinity, we love you for it. Please be who you were created to be and handle business. I saw a video last night, and this guy was in a shop, and he was getting mouthy with a gal that was in there. This guy walks in the door, says 2 words to him, and just takes his hand and goes, bam, knocks him right on his behind, and ends the situation right there, because the guy was threatening the woman.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just gonna say it. So what are we gonna do? Say, oh, I'm so sorry. I know you didn't mean to do that. We're gonna go in front of a Soros judge who's gonna allow all of the nonsense to continue. No, this guy just walked in, bam, game over. Guy was knocked out cold. And I'm gonna pretty much guess that if that was okay, there's consequences to actions. I'm pretty sure it's gonna stop.
Yeah. Oh, I think so. Yeah. That that's the thing that just drives me crazy, is that there never seems to be any consequences.
No.
For all the criminality that's going on in Washington D.C., no consequences. For all the corporate crime, no consequences. It's just, if anything gets reported, it's almost like non-operative. It's like, why bother? Why freaking bother?
Yeah. Well, it's like that 13-year-old girl that was raped by 2 guys, and what did she do? She got a hold of something, and I'm not going to quote the story because I don't remember, but the part that stuck in my mind is that she got charged for attacking the rapist. And it's like, are you kidding me? This is what the World Economic Forum, this is what these globalist pieces of puke want. They want people to be victimized so that they're quiet, they're afraid to stand up and do what's right. They're going to get charged for the crimes and such. It's like, well, you know what? It's time to take one for the team once in a while and let them have it. When somebody is, I have a good friend who was down on the border, and he watched a girl that was being grabbed. She had a dress on, and they pulled the skirt up over her head, and we're getting ready to throw her in the back of the car. And I remember him he said he looked at this and realized that he was in El Paso and was going to be probably targeted in some way or another if he did anything. He went in and he reached for his Colt 45, which was in his glove compartment and his glove box, and said, drop her now or you're done. And they dropped her on the spot and took off, and she went off running. He said she was so scared she didn't even stop to look back. But he stopped the crime. Now there's a lot of threat in our society if you do that. I'm not going to say, like some of the other people that will advise people to do things. I'm not going to advise anybody to do anything. You have to have your conscience guide you in this sort of situation, for sure.
Yeah.
What you're willing to do to perhaps do the right thing, even if there's consequences to your actions.
Yeah, and that's really upsets me. It's like that guy that just went through a trial in New York, because he dropped a guy that was bullying people. And I've ridden those trains in New York, And when you're in one of those cars, you're really pretty much trapped. Nothing you can
Bad
do.
plan.
Uh-huh.
It's another 15-minute city thing where they're going to trap you in a situation where you are powerless and can't get out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Always leave yourself an escape. Always.
Oh, I totally agree.
So here's another thing. So, okay, I'm going to go there. Everybody's going to hate me, but I'm going to say it anyway. Okay, so I support President Trump. I have been an unwavering Trump supporter from the beginning because they cheated and deprived him and all of us of his office. All of us. I wrote a letter and I'm going to send it to President Trump because I believe that the inauguration coming up needs to have a little change of plans. And I'm going to give you the reasons why. First of all, I think it's absolutely stupid to have a public inauguration of President Trump when he's already had how many assassination attempts, people? If we give a damn about him, we the people, instead of being entertained, should step in front of this and say, hold the phone. We don't need the pomp and circumstance. We want him safe. We voted him in, and we want to go to work. Give me a job. Tell me what you want done, and I will be there to support him and support this nation in any way I can to restore, nullify all of this unconstitutional bullshit that's out there and cut all of these unconstitutional departments and regulation and taxation and all of that. We need to get to work. And we need to get to work in earnest. We can't continue to be entertained when we are in the middle of a fight. You don't just stop in the middle of a fight when you've had a couple of successes. You carry that thing right to the end until you have won this decisively. You don't stop and play. Okay? So there I am right there. I think that he needs to have a private inauguration in a controlled environment, completely controlled, where there is no chance that somebody is going to take a shot at him and barely miss. Secret Service and whoever else is involved in whatever, in the buildings, that nonsense that happened in Butler and in the other times that he has been in harm's way. Him, body double, whatever you want to say. Okay, I don't know. I don't care, but we need a private inauguration. It is dumb to have one out in public for a number of reasons. The top one is to keep the President of the United States and his family safe. Okay? This guy stepped up and didn't need the job. He did not need to do this. Okay? Now it's our turn to say, we're working with you. We're not expecting you to serve us. And the second thing is an inauguration like this, it looks like a coronation of a king to me. That's not what this is about. Anybody in office should be approaching this as a public servant, someone who is serving the United States. Ask yourself this question. How much money are they paying for this inauguration of your tax dollars? With the amount of people out there that are suffering right now, if I was in a position, I'd pull the plug on this thing so fast it's not even funny, and have it be televised. Because if one of us can't do it, none of us should do it. And you have to either know somebody or pay big dollars in order to get. And I've got access to pretty much everything in this thing, and I'm still kind of weighing things out right now. I got to tell you, because I'm if there's a plan and there's a go to this, that's fine. However, if there's more to it than meet the eye, which I really think there is in a lot of cases, but at its core level, President Trump should be kept safe in a private inauguration and not to entertain us and go to work day one. Number one.
And what would be the outcome if they did get to Trump? J.D. Vance would be president, right?
I've got a real problem with J.D. Vance.
Mm-hmm. Well, he is a tech guy, tech venture capitalist. So he is familiar with all the tech stuff. Well, that would be the tech coup d'etat in the government. That would be.
But Vicky, he has all the pretty words, and everybody hook, line, and sinkered this guy. And from the beginning, I'm like, I think we got a problem, guys. You can't listen to the words. You got to do some digging into this. And the connections to the tech world, Peter Thiel, Palantir, all of it. Unless he's removed and there's a double in there, which we could hope that there's a bigger plan there. But I've got a problem of this. And, all of the other pomp and circumstances around this is a problem for me. We are not done with this battle. And it just seems like everybody's sitting back going, yeah, guys, and now I can go back to playing. No, this is when we should be kicking it in the tail and saying, President Trump, I, Donna Brandenburg, am asking you as a citizen, as an American, to have a private inauguration. Keep yourself and your family and all the security around you safe, so that we can, in fact, finish this fight. And I really, really firmly believe this. I really believe this. I would love for this to say, you know what? We're going to save this country all kinds of money and not having to pay for all of this advanced security and all of this other nonsense. We're going to cut the budget, and it's going to start, boom, right there. We're going to have a private inauguration. Day one, I'm going to work. And I'm targeting every single one of these people who have used all of the methods that they have to target the United States, and shit's gonna get real starting in about 3 seconds after my hand goes on that Bible. And then
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. It should.
Now that's number. I gotta finish this thought here a minute. Sorry, I'm gonna rant. Then the other thing is that you're in DC. What happened on J6? You're on foreign land in DC. They've got their own rules. They've got their own security systems. And unless you know somebody there, what's going to be the outcome? I'm a little concerned about this. But I don't know. And there may be more there. And then I want to go back to what you said about President Trump and appointing all these people. President Trump has a history and a pattern that I look at. He's got an amazing history and an amazing pattern. And that pattern is he throws things into the light. So with all of this stuff that's coming out, is he, in fact, putting this stuff out there to educate us so we stop being stupid sheeple, just following along, but questioning everything, and I mean everything, so that we are, in fact, gone through President Trump boot camp to get smarter, ask questions even about the things that we're going to be ostracized for. Oh, yeah, all the party system, you call out anything, you're going to be ostracized. How dare you question the establishment? Well, guess what? We're all going to have to do that, because what happens if he is in harm's way? What happens if people in our Supreme Court have been blackmailed or threatened or whatever? I mean, we've got a global crime syndicate out there. There's not many people that are going to be able to say, fire away, I don't care, I know where I'm going, but I'm not going to capitulate.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do.
Quite a long time ago, when Roberts was just after, maybe a year or so after, he apparently was involved with, I hesitate to call it kidnapping, but he
call it out. It was in Britain, and I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
definitely compromised.
Mm-hmm. And so, but I mean, that's the modus operandi of the people who are controlling our government, is that they compromise everybody. And if they can't compromise, I imagine they dispatch them.
Yes, they do. Mm-hmm. And the entirety of the systemic corruption will go after these people, or they make them kind of irrelevant. They attack them. Anybody who's been attacked and attacked brutally, that's the person I want to stand next to, because they're not playing, any ass kissing games to get somewhere. They literally have been eliminated, gone to the elimination round. Look at Gary Webb and all the people who have been assassinated for speaking out on this, especially. I have a lot of hope, though, because there's a lot of people right now that are actually speaking out on these things. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping and praying to God that there's a bunch of people behind the scenes who are standing unwavering. And there's going to come a time where it's going to hit the fan. And when it does, it's going to be brutal, merciless, and justice is going to prevail. And I do believe that. I actually believe that that's exactly where we're at.
I certainly hope so. I mean, that's been the last thing in the world I ever wanted to do was to do research and talk about it on the radio, which is becoming a semi public person. That is the last thing in the world I wanted to do. I'm your classic IT person. Throw me in a room, give me the computer every once in a while, throw me a piece of raw meat, and I'm good. I'll just sit in there and work forever. But but there was no alternative. Everybody has to participate in this. Everybody has something to contribute, whatever it is. And if we're going to get our country back from these psychos who have taken control of it, we all have to be involved.
Well, and I think too, there may be some value to going to some of these events and such because you meet people. It's just like going to the auto show and such. I met a bunch of wonderful people who are actually out there working for the nation, that are working behind the scenes, kind of quiet. They're not the ones that stand at the podium. They're kind of like sitting back, and they don't want recognition. They just really want to see the world work better, and they're willing to work and stand in the gap for others who are perhaps not involved or don't realize that they have to be involved, that we have to. But Revolutionary War, it only took 3% of the population. So as long as we have really smart, good people, I'm good with that. Would be better if we get everybody involved. But the only thing that's going to make that happen is if we have a total economic grid and communications collapse, which honestly would be good for our country. It would make everybody grow up right now, because there's so many people out there that still have that baby bird mentality, feed me, instead of what an adult does, which is, I'm here to help. What are we going to do, and what are we going to leave for our posterity, our next generation, the people around us? How are we going to serve in this world? And as first and foremost, as a Christian who works for the kingdom of God, we're servants. That's it. You put something in front of me that needs to be fixed, I'm going to do my best to fix it, and then I'm going to get out of the way, because there's so many things to fix. There's no end to it.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's true. Yeah. And I've tried to think, if I were part of that efficiency group, what would I do? Well, first thing, I mean, it's hard to think about because there's so many things. But the entire public health infrastructure that is embedded in health and human services, I would get that out of there, because that's where you have a lot of insurgents embedded, is in health and human services.
Well, they're the largest human trafficking organization on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they have so many foreign employees. I got for some reason, I don't know why they did this, but I happened to see where they'd posted their employee address book online, so you could look at it. I've never seen so many foreign names in one place in my life, not even the phone book. And so that's been a worry to me ever since I found it. Well, the whole system has been a worry to me. But seeing that many foreign names in an agency that has to do, directly with people, directly with our lives.
Right. Well, and I'm going to go back to this. Lev says, a podcaster I listen to agrees there should be no public inauguration. There should also be no public funerals. When they gave a funeral of honor to the traitor Carter, who gave away the Panama Canal and was behind the starting of the National Education Association, he was a traitor. And he was a traitor on so many levels. He actually set I will not speak well of this man. Not at all.
I am totally with you, 100%.
He was a traitor, and he should have a traitor's burial, because that's what he is. And also, so why are we doing this, and why are we allowing this stuff? This is incredible. And they're spending taxpayers' dollars to have funeral fit for a king. We don't have kings. We have public functionaries. We have people that are supposed to be serving this nation. Sucking up money for the dead isn't part of that plan. In my opinion, you die like the rest of us. My opinion, you live like the rest of us. This is what makes America great, is that we're all the same, and we should be working arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder with people we are like that we're not like. It's a melting pot. We gotta learn to work with people that are not like us, but we're here to serve. We're here to serve and to create the greatest society that the world has ever seen. That one that's based on freedom, the freedom given by God and ensured, guaranteed by that Constitution, that beautiful Constitution we have. It's amazing. And it's not talked about, and they want to change it. They want to do a constitutional convention, and anybody that wants to go down that path is an idiot. Same thing with saying it's a democracy. It is not a democracy. We do not have a democracy.
They'd like to make it a democracy. With Trump's what'd you think about Trump's announcement that he wants to buy Greenland?
Well, right now, we're going to look at this two ways, and I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and say, well, at this point in time, the entire world is illegitimate. The governments about the entire world are illegitimate governments, except maybe a handful of them. I think Putin's is a legitimate government, but I think he stood for the Ukraine when the people decided to vote to go with Russia. Yeah, he stood up for them, right? So, but you can look at the governments that are standing for the people and the ones that are standing for the globalists. So let's just take a look at Canada, for example. When you see what was manipulated in Canada, which I've been going through with Doug Force, and why not only Canada, but the United States is a totally illegitimate government. We don't have a government. We have a de facto government. It is illegitimate. And it goes back to how they went through and misled people through pretended legislation, statutes that don't matter, and then taking the nation captive through their pretended legislation and manipulation. It's all there. It is all there.
Well, so, I think Canada was taken over in large part by Russian mobsters.
Say 1800s, it was Britain that took that. It was Britain that deep sixed it and did it in a very, very subversive way. Same thing in the United States. United States is a illegitimate government right now. It's illegitimate. We need to go back to what was the legitimate and get rid of all of these statutes and pretended laws, even the amendments in the Constitution that were passed. 16th Amendment should never have happened. Income tax, not a chance. It's all that you cannot modify the original amendments, and the way they did it was wrong. Even the Constitution of the state of Michigan is illegitimate. 1963 Constitution, completely installed illegitimately. Needs to go back and start nullifying and nullifying until we get back to what the founders had intended, not what the usurpers have taken over with the help of the English crown.
Yeah, well, the guy who was involved in building the international system, his name is Cordell Hull, Hull.
Cordell what?
Hull, Hull.
Okay.
And he was the one that was involved in setting up the Federal Reserve. He's the one that passed the legislation for the income tax. He was there. He's considered to be the father of the United Nations because he participated in the building of the whole thing. And, almost nobody, I never heard of him until I started researching, but he was like a one-man wrecking ball for our country. Did so much damage to us because they had the idea of building this international system, free trade for the world. Well, they did that. What happened? We exported our economy. That's what happened with the WTO. is that they separated our economy from our political system. The money went this way. Our political system has gone nothing but down. And I should write an article about that. I have written about the WTO, but not recently.
Well, and I think there's just so much. I hope that Ryan comes on today. I sent him all the links and such. So we'll hope that I've been in communication with him. Sometimes this sort of thing happens when you're live on, and if not, we'll reschedule him. But I'm usually he joins a little early, 10 minutes early, I believe. So, and he's not there. So just maybe you and I today, and I apologize if that has to be rescheduled, but we'll figure this out. Anyhow, there's so much that we need to look at in the history. The history really teaches us that going back to that Operation Bolo with Robin Olds, you really should look into what happened there and how one or two good men foiled all the politicians who were basically putting all of our guys in jeopardy, so that they had to dump their payload of ordnance in order to stay alive against the Russian MiGs, and how they took out half of the Russian MiGs in this operation. How they did it was absolutely extraordinary. When you really watch the military history and such, and what goes on with, say, some of the greatest people in that have ever lived, their bravery, their honor, to doing the right thing, stepping in front of people so that others aren't hurt. It's amazing. We don't have that in our political climate, other than what I've seen President Trump do. And I really do think that there's more to this 5D, 10D, 20D chess that they're playing right now. I think he's throwing it out there, everything out there, in order to have us be educated, because we cannot rule ourselves. We cannot self-govern because we don't have the knowledge. That knowledge was lost. So in order to have that, we're going to have to question everything and not be afraid to question everything, even him. If I were in that position, it would be the biggest honor anyone could ever give me to say, well, why did you do this? This doesn't make sense. This is wrong. Okay, well, let's talk about it. Why do you think this is wrong? And give me a chance to either answer or change it if more information came forward. That's what we need. We need a whole nation of skeptics, a whole nation of people that know the Constitution, that are ready to maybe make a different plan if we need to, such as like truly charging every single person that committed treason with treason, and making sure that their sorry behinds get hung for the crime.
That's our biggest problem, is that the criminality among the politicians and public people doesn't get prosecuted. And because it doesn't take very many prosecutions for a businessman to say, oh, I'm not breaking the law here, because I don't want life in prison or to be hung by the neck, at the gallows. Business people are pretty risk averse in those terms. So
well, so much. Some of us are just like, oh yeah, let's try that. Jump out of the plane. You got a parachute? No, I'll improvise on the way down.
but if you're going to get hung, if what you're doing is illegal, they're not going to do it.
They're cowards. Most people are.
Oh cowards. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that said one time. Money is a coward. And so they might want to make money, but if they're breaking the law to do it, they're not going to do it if they're going to get in big trouble.
That's why they go into corporations, because they can blame everybody else and nobody takes personal responsibility, because the corporation is a person.
I believe in the death penalty for corporations. And what is the death penalty?
Oh my gosh, you said that too. I do too.
Yeah. And what is the death penalty for a corporation? Take it apart, or execute it. Yep. Yes.
That's one of those things that's been on my mind too, is that if you want to be a person, well, guess what? You get treated like one.
And all the key men in the corporation go to jail forever.
Well, it used to be that way, that the corporate officers were responsible for the operations of the company. They took that away when they gave personhood to the corporations. And then they've got, it's just like the politicians. They've got pretty much blanket immunity for everything. Well, they really don't. We just don't know how to use it yet, but we're learning. And that means that they need to be sued in a personal level, on a personal level. You don't sue the state. You can't win that way. But if they are acting outside of their role, they're outside of their duties that they've been charged, then guess what? They broke the law because they don't have immunity because they didn't do what they were supposed to do within their job. They went off on a side. That's exactly what should be charged. That's what Whitmer, Nessel, Benson, Brader, the entire legislature of Michigan should be charged in that form. But unfortunately, there's one of me. I wish I had about 25 clones out there that I could, send in different directions. And yeah, I'm saying that to be funny, guys. Okay. So, but that would have a no back down attitude, or at least people that gave a crap about the nation that would put their time into it instead of running their mouths. Do something. We've got to work. We have to be a nation of doers, not just talkers. That's another problem I have with this whole inauguration and going to events and such. I got a little bit of a problem with it. I really do. On many levels. And I think I'm going to write about it, in the fact that every single person that goes to these meetings needs to leave there with a job. There needs to be some better direction on a legal, lawfare, constitutional basis to get things done. They leave, oh yay, we just went and had coffee again and got nothing done, except for sitting back and saying, go sports team, go. We want this party to win, or we want this little coalition to win, or we want this group of people, because the whole United States is fractured. They're not working together. If we had to have a team of horses pulling, this would be crazy. You'd have horses going in every single direction and tearing apart the center part of America through distraction, disorganization, and chaos.
Well, that's because they're deconstructing us. When you just said something, I forget what you said.
In the corporate world, it's called building silos. Instead of
everybody in this country is in their own silo, I believe.
Oh my gosh. And if you don't jump onto their silo and help them, they stop calling you. You either give them money or you jump onto their silo, because there's not a big enough ability to see the total picture. It's like, you want to learn history, get a timeline. You need to see how these things fit together in order to understand why one element is related to another. Did you ever watch that series? It was by a guy last name Burke, I think, and he did The Day the Universe Changed. Was totally addicted to this series back in, I think, the late 80s, 90s, probably 80s.
No, I don't think I did.
Oh, had total addiction to this guy, because he would go back in time and you could see how the events led to one event to another, and you get to the end and you start out with Roman Road and end up with something like the printing press, which led right into computers. It was amazing how he laid out historically the events that led up to where we are now, in the aspects of society that we have become accustomed to. Which honestly, I think a lot of this needs to go away. We need to go back to local strength, local products, local politics, instead of, like they freely admit, all of the orders are coming from the state. Well, the state is by and large unelected and or selected to shellac the American population, people that are just there as an industry. That's it. Sickening. It's absolutely repulsive, and it's sickening.
Well, our state governments were bought by the feds during the 1960s, when LBJ set up all those poverty programs for the Great Society. Because what they did is to set the rules for how the states would function in terms of the targeted population. And
Make
over time, pardon me?
and make victims out of them. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. Well, over time, what happened is that the states became so dependent on that money. And we saw an example of it in Idaho in 2015, I think it was. There was a piece of legislation that the state was required to pass by Health and Human Services.
An unelected and a pretended group. They don't exist under Norton versus Shelby County.
Well, this particular piece of legislation included a reference to the Hague Convention. So they were incorporating this section of international law into our state legislation, and it required our state judges to honor the decisions of the Hague Court. And what happened was, we were lobbying against that. We didn't want that piece of legislation in our to be law in Idaho. But what HHS did was to start out telling our state government, okay, well, we're going to withhold, I think it was $60 million of funds. Only that wasn't enough. They came back saying, ultimately they were threatening the entire amount of money that Idaho was getting for these HHS programs, which include Medicaid, the children's programs. I mean, the list goes on, but it was something like $2 billion. Well, and it was extortion. No way around the fact that it was extortion to make our state pass this legislation. And so that's the way they worked it. They did the War on Poverty programs. All of those programs were hooks into our states, so that there would be a federal flow of money into the states that could then be withheld, threatened to be withheld.
Well, and I think everybody's got to ask yourself this question. Why is it that every country on the planet hates the United States of America? Because the money we send there never gets to the people.
Right.
You look at how many countries across. I think they're getting smarter, because when President Trump got in office, things started to improve, and we received the respect across the planet that for all the money that they have basically extorted from the American people and thrown around the globe. People are starting to wake up and figure out what's really going on here. But the reality is how come we can't we're going in reverse on poverty. We're going in reverse on education. They're not teaching anything anymore. You can't ask me. We try to hire people. The caliber of younger people in the workforce is abysmal. If you have a business, it is an abysmal pool of talent, because first of all, they know everything, and they've never had a day they've worked in their lives, most of them. And then second of all, if there's a dumpster fire 2 feet away from them, it's not on their list. So they'll sit there and watch it burn and go, yeah, that's real interesting. And or it's all on their phone, constantly on the phone. And well, I got to answer this question. I've got things to do this weekend, that sort of thing. It's like, you're at a job, you're being paid for your time. And, just kind of a shocking, it's really shocking. I wish people could see what actual business owners, not corporations, but small business owners go through on a daily basis. It's insane. So I love your timeline here, by the way. This is awesome.
That was totally intentional. The destruction of our schools was totally intentional. And they just wanted to apparently turn our young people into mindless drones. So over the years, it was in 1962, I think, when the Carnegie Commission established the Education Commission on the states. And the idea of the Education Commission was to keep track of which states had implemented which package of so-called reforms. And what was done is they set up 15 or at least 10 regional commissions for education. And those regional commissions for education, they're the ones that pushed down what essentially was the destruction of our system of education.
Well, and I don't hold it against the younger people. If they haven't had anybody to follow or teach them anything, how would they know? We've abandoned them, you know, the tearing down. And it, as you said, it's intentional. It was intentional. I think every single person going through the education system, which it should, first of all, it should all be local. Used to have the shop classes and auto mechanics and welding and all of that in our high schools. Then it went to trade schools, which is another good option. But this should really be taught at a local level, and every single person should be equipped, and I'm saying equipped, with a skill set to take care of themselves and not be dependent upon the government for every single thing, for every single permission, or we'll cut your whatever it is that you're, you know.
Mm-hmm. I was standing in line, and there was a young guy, you know, maybe 25, standing next to me. We were both looking at the lottery and how much it was. And he asked me, he said, "How much do you think you'd get if you won that lottery?" I said, "Oh, about 30%. And he said, "Well, how much would that be?" And I was stunned that he couldn't figure 30%. So I told him, "Well, just take 10% of it and multiply times 3. He couldn't do that. Man, that just blew me away. It blew me away.
Shocking. It's kind of shocking.
Yes, it was. And so I told him what the amount would be, but I was stunned, actually, that simple of a math problem, he couldn't do it.
We're in the midst of, we're almost done with designing a piece of software, which is just totally amazing. Been working on it for a while, and it's a management software, because I got all kinds of mad, and, you know, I get pissed off at things, you know, that just bother me. Things just bother me. And instead of sitting there wringing my hands, I'll do something about it. So when they started doing that two-step authorization, or you had to join something like Microsoft and give them all your data, there were only two options realistically. And I'm like, no, this is not okay. This is capture of our businesses and our information to go through these big information brokers and or service providers. Ding, ding, ding. I'm going to use that as a word in order to do accounting and such. QuickBooks is one of them too, that I've got some real problems with the way that it works and such. So we went ahead and we started designing. One of my companies is a tech company. We started designing software, and it's working absolutely beautifully. And we tied it all in with a way that a business owner would want to see this thing work. And I'm going to tell you, we've been using it for quite a while now, and it's pretty flawless. You can manage all of your work teams on it. It ties in with accounting. It ties in with automated communications to make sure that everybody is on the same page and such. I think we need to have more competition in these areas to be able to create products of innovation and freedom rather than the capture of information. I do plan to sell it at some point in time when I know that all the kinks are out of it, and we've worked it out on our own companies so that I know it's flawless, so that people can be free to do what they need to do. And if they want to leave, sayonara. If you find a better way, good for you. I'm either we improve or you find somebody that does a better job, and I'm okay with that. There's the economic capture of our nation and our businesses is really, it's really at the crux of how these public-private partnerships, politicians and such, basically steal what we've built in order to enrich themselves. And every one of them, once again, should be tried for treason and probably hung for it. It's an attack against the freedom of the people of the United States, period.
Well, they took down our nation state when the Senate voted to establish the World Trade Organization. They basically gave up control of the economy and turned it over to the global corporations. And so, yeah, I think that was treason, and I think that there should be a major investigation, not to find out what they did, but just to inform the people of what they did. You know, over time they have just destroyed our country. It's like, I was telling you about the deregulation of our economy in the 1980s. Well, another thing that they did was to allow corporations to basically leave the country, go down to Mexico, re-import to the United States with no penalty. So what that did was that devastated our industrial sector that was in the Northeast, right? That's where all the industrial firms were. Well, they just simply gutted that area and exported those businesses to Mexico, where they, could make more money using what are essentially slave laborers down there.
Well, look what Mary Barra did for Ford. And what did she take? She took in like $846 million to promise us 4,000 jobs. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Why are we giving away this corporate welfare? Why are we treating these big corporations that way on the promise of 4,000 jobs with absolutely no proof, no accountability, and then watch them run off to Mexico to build a plant down there and take our jobs anyway, or have another process like Tyson did of paying companies and corporations to replace American workers with illegal immigrants. Pay the bill on it.
Right.
Everybody here should be absolutely furious over this. I am.
I am too. I have been for a long time. You don't even need to be a math genius to figure this out. They incentivized corporations to basically gut our economy.
It's theft. The corporations have been stealing everything from us and the people that are behind it. Mm-hmm. I really believe there's a global crime syndicate out there, and the people that are involved in this behavior, they're all part of it. They're all part of the global crime syndicate to basically enslave the people of this country and the world.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the global crime syndicate are the tech leaders.
Can we call it crimes against humanity and then get them all?
I think you could. I do. I know you can call it treason, and what you can't call treason, you can call crimes against humanity. I mean, if they take away your ability to make a living, to feed your family, to pay your rent, that is a crime against humanity.
Yeah. Chris just said, tuned in and said they stopped the show at 9:33 a.m. on one of our feeds, and I don't know which one it is because I'm watching it on Rumble, and Rumble's up. So we'll get it figured out wherever it is, but I just sent him a link.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, because of course we want to talk about these things that are tough things, and they will try to interrupt it. So I don't know if it's on his end in Florida or my end here or what, but it doesn't matter. We got copies of all of this, and I can see the ones that are still up. So I don't know why he's not seeing it down there, but we'll bring him in and see what's actually going on there. See if Chris will join here this morning. Interesting. It's up. I'm seeing it live on several of the channels, but they don't want to hear this stuff, do they, Vicky? No, they want to silence us. Guess what? Brandenburg News Network, zero censorship. Not gonna quit. Not gonna stop this nonsense. We're gonna keep going, and we're gonna tell the truth. But I think it's important. And you know what? The biggest compliment we could ever give President Trump is to question him.
Yeah, that's true.
And to question why he's put people like Vivek and Elon in place who are pushing the visas.
Yeah.
Why are they? We have to ask that question and say, you will be stopping and desisting this activity to all those that are involved in it, according to the fact that we, in fact, are the sovereigns here, we the people. This behavior needs to stop now.
Uh-huh.
We're not going to let you replace us with workers from India that are being billed as high tech company. They're going through a 4-week boot camp to train them in tech or whatever. Oh yeah, they're going to learn that in 4 weeks. With the average IQ in India being 70. Think about this, people.
Man, that just...
Oh man, did I say naughty words today, didn't I?
So you could take the average high school student in the United States and train them. You know, that's what they're doing, is that they're training H-1Bs in a 1-month, training camp. You could do that with American students.
I'm going to guess all they're doing is putting them on the cell phones and doing telemarketing or whatever from the big phone banks. And that's what they're calling tech. I don't believe it's that they're doing tech at all. You don't learn that in 4 weeks. There's no way. You barely know how to turn a computer on.
Mm-hmm. Well, they'll be, I don't know, they might be needed for the global health system for their own country, That's a possibility, because these global systems, let me give you the link to the article.
They were actually putting them in as
janitor. They are actual global systems. They are designed to, when you design a system in the United States, it's for Americans. When you design a global system, it's for the entire world population. And that's kind of hard to perhaps imagine in your mind, but that's what the deal is,
There's another
They truly are a global system.
They are. There's somebody else that's watching right now that said even the license plates and the licensing is all absolutely, Avery, you're completely right. Every part of our system is about theft. We're at an 85% minimal tax rate, and that doesn't include inflation. If you add it up, we're above that. Think about that. Even the slaves in the Middle Ages were treated better than what Americans are.
Oh yeah, there are so many hidden taxes that you don't consider as a tax. It might be a fee or some other thing, but they're all taxes. Okay, that was when they defined the global systems. Let me get this other one.
Can you name all the countries in G7?
Well, I'm not sure. It's
changes.
the UK, the US, Italy, Germany.
Is Australia in it? I've heard that we're going to take that President Trump wants to take over Australia too, besides Greenland and Canada, which is actually pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Australia's in it, because Australia is in the Asia Pacific Union. See, they're breaking up the world into regions, into geographic regions.
Personally, I think we should go after Mexico for allowing the invasion of our border.
Yeah, if there's any country that I think we should take over, it would be Mexico. Because the government of Mexico was always weak and corrupt.
And they're AirPac affiliated.
What does that mean?
Leader.
Oh.
I'm trying to be nice here because ADL is going to come after me, Anti-Defamation League, which I think is a bunch of crap. So here we go. I pulled this up. There should be no protected classes of people, because that's about as racist as you can get. If you committed a crime, you're evil, or you're on the side of good. I don't care how you package yourself. Doesn't make any difference what religion, race, creed, whatever. I don't care. You either broke the law or you didn't.
Uh-huh.
And that's There you go. But AirPack funds most of the people in our government have an AirPack handler, which should be concerning to everyone. So we've got France, United States, UK, West Germany, Japan, Italy, Canada. Let's see. Go back. France. Those are summit hosts. Let's see if I can get to the full list here.
Yeah. The G7 is an organization to watch, because they not only have the leaders of, when they bring the leaders of countries together, it's just to put the stamp of approval on what has been negotiated by what they call the Sherpas, which would be like the U.S. Trade Representative and other people that work for him. They're the ones that really come up with the cooperation package, and then the leaders come together to approve it, or to show approval for it. But they have built such a monolithic structure over the top of our government that operates at the international level. It almost makes our domestic government look like a joke.
Kind of. Well, it is a joke.
All the important decisions are made at the international level.
Okay, here's Chris, and Chris is there. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Hey, great. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us this morning, and thanks for the comments that you had off to the side here. So, what's your thoughts on all of this that we're talking about?
You sound really on point to me. One of the things she was talking about the about the minorities being shipped over for, it's human trafficking, taking jobs and whatnot. And basically, wouldn't it be something if it were a psychological operation that the media spout the word racist all the time, and how dare you put down the Chicano race, and the it's like pro Venezuela and all this, and so it sort of keeps you from saying anything about what you're talking about, what you're actually talking about, in fear of people being against the political correct way of saying things, that you too might be called a racist for saying what you're saying. It's so, look, this is all CIA. This smells with the stench of the CIA, and this is what they do. And it's most of these politicians that we have absolutely no clue what's really going on. They're fighting a unrealistic way of what we used to hang on to, or what we're still hanging on to, which is what we thought that it is the way it was. And in fact, what you guys are talking about is not something everybody knows about, because you guys are touching on Black projects. You guys are touching on things that even our government, look, most of these people, these elected officials that we elect, couldn't run a lemonade stand. Okay. So you got to understand, the information that they have is what they're privy to, is what they are entrusted to have.
Or told to have and told to say.
Right. And who's doing the telling, and who's doing the, he can know, but she can't, who's making those decisions? It's not Donald Trump. How dare any agency, I don't care if it's a CIA or whoever it is, tell a president, I'm sorry, sir, but you're on a need to know.
Right.
Excuse me? Excuse frickin' me? You, sir, I thought that all these CIA, TV shows that you put on YouTube and Google or all over the place. We report to the president. The president is the one that once we collect our information over in foreign countries, first thing we do is gather the intel, send it back. We collaborate with the FBI because they do the domestic version of us here. And then we take this to the president. It goes through a couple of checks up the chain where they edit things and change things around. And then we give a briefing to the president daily. Well, that's bullshit because they hold so much back, and that they don't tell the president, which in my opinion is treason. Okay. Any agency that works underneath the president, which you and I pay for their salary, are holding information from us.
It's a crime syndicate.
To me, that's treason.
It's a crime syndicate at that point.
Yeah. You're on a need to know. You can kiss my ass. I'm the president of the United States. You're on a need to know to have your job from me, the president.
Well, and this is where we need to step up. It's like with President Trump, and I'm going to go back to the private inauguration. And I hope somebody's listening to this that can get the word to him, because I can't talk to him. They told me I had to pay $150,000 to have access or talk to the man, and I won't pay it.
And then you wouldn't be talking to him. You'd be talking to
a double. Yeah, somebody with a mask on. Just look at The Simpsons. Yeah. And so with The Simpsons with the masks and such that come off at the end, I think that's what we're going to find out to a certain. Yeah, here, pay in, and we're going to give you a masked actor to talk to for $150,000 as we tuck it in our back pocket. I think the rest of us need to step forward and support. We voted him in. It's not a time, in my opinion, and I don't know if you listened to it earlier, Chris, but it's not time to celebrate. We're not across the finish line right now. We just started. This was just the start of the fight. Whether we win this or not, it's going to depend on us. And it doesn't matter who's going to sit in that seat at this point in time, because if we don't stand for him or whoever is voted to represent us to both instruct them and to back them, the country's done. And we need to do that. And once again, I'm going to say it. I would implore and instruct President Trump that it is our wishes to have a private inauguration to keep him safe. There's no reason to do this. We don't need to be children entertained anymore. We're stepping up as Americans, as those who want to see this nation healed and right. Oh, I thought we think we lost Vicky there. Oh, he's bailing. Oh, thanks, Vicky. I'll have her. She'll be back on next Monday. We absolutely have got to stand there to protect and defend him as he steps in front of us. Give us a job. Just stop this inauguration nonsense. How many people are standing in the way of bad actors? And just get in there. The greatest present he could give us, go to work and start calling them out, rounding them up, and sending them on their way on a one-way ticket to a nice, bright, shiny, sunny place for treason. Clean it out. I think, if we started seeing some justice, oh my goodness, the celebration would start and it would ripple across the United States. We would have such a celebration, but it wouldn't be in DC. This celebration would go throughout the land, and people would just be so thrilled with watching the accountability happen. No celebration would we have to pay for, because it would be in the hearts of Americans, and Americans would just be absolutely ecstatic with what's going on.
You know what else it would do? It would show.
It would unite the country.
No.
It would what?
It would show who's an American and who's not. That's exactly what it would do. It would show who the enemies are, and it would show you who the Americans are. As soon as you start doing that, put it on TV, cable, whatever. But nationally show.
Brandenburg News Network, because we're the only ones that don't make money at this.
nationally show the hangings on TV of the people guilty of treason, and you will see nationally your enemy. You will see them. They will be the ones that are opposed to the hanging.
Yep.
They're the ones that are going to get in your car as you're driving them to the airport, cussing out Americans. I've got that happening now, and I want to stop the car, and I want to grab them, and I want to take them out of the car and beat the shit out of them and say, here's your fucking suitcase. I'm sorry.
You're hostile, Chris. You're hostile. But that's what you get when you get a Marine, because Marines aren't going to negotiate. They're going to be handling business. And so there you go.
Well,
and here's another thing that I'm going to just talk about it because, if we're going to piss people off, let's just do the full job here and carry it to the end zone. It's like the deportation. You know what? Perhaps we shouldn't deport some of these people just to go back and screw us again by coming back at us. Maybe we should handle business right here. These people have invaded the United States of America with the help and assistance of foreign countries, such as Venezuela, such as Mexico, such as you can name it, and say, guess what? These are agents of a foreign country. They are not pathetic individuals who are escaping tyranny, and find out who these people are. If you are associated with any of the gangs, you're going to get Mo too, because you literally, or you're going to a tribunal, or you're going to be tried as a what's the word I'm looking for? They need to be tried as an invading army who came into the United States. You think you're going to send these people back to their, with a sanitized view of their country? They're going to go back and they're going to find another way to screw us unless we deal with this problem right now. So, you know what, President Trump, you're going to do this, start rolling south. You're going to go for Canada? Well, go south, because they attacked the United States of America. They were part of the attack. Mexico enabled it. They attacked us. They were part of it. And let's go in there and start cutting these gangs down. Let's designate them as terrorist organizations and just cut them right down to size. Let's bring on toxic female energy here. You piss off mama and things go bad real quick. There's a story that happened in Ireland, and there was a king and a queen there, and the king went off to fight, and by the time he came back, he had to pull the queen off of exacting revenge, let's say, on those that hurt her country and her family. She was not going to negotiate, and they literally had to pull mama off of this thing because it was brutal. You go after the cubs, mama bears, watch out what you get.
And that's how I feel about my orcas. That's how I feel about all these people that have been installed that hate our country, that are cartel directors themselves.
Yep.
Should hang by their neck until they're dead. Come get some, my orcas. That's what I say.
They're traitors. They're traitors to the nation.
Damn right he is.
And the lawful outcome of this, we can't say, well, this is, I can see people out there, okay, little social justice warriors. Well, we just have to talk nice to them. We've just got to, they just have to learn a better way. I don't think they understand. They're not like us. A normal human being has normal human being feelings. We love our families and friends. We do stupid things sometimes that we need to be forgiven for. This is full scale psychopath, inhuman individuals. When you study things like, say, with the 11th Airborne that went into defend and liberate Los Baños in the Philippines, and what they did to what the Japanese did in these internment camps that were there to the people, they have no idea the level of evil that these gangs, like Santa Muerte, the Saint of Death, it's coming from Mexico. They have no idea the level of brutality. Go back and watch the history of the liberation of Los Baños. and I can't remember the guy's name. It starts with an S, Japanese second in command, and what he did just to torture and the people that were in the internment. And when the Americans, when the 11th Airborne liberated them, he went in to the village next door and killed every single person that were the Filipinos that were there, killed every single one as retribution for what the Americans did. These people did nothing. It was just a village. And he literally exterminated all of them. Look what's happening in the Middle East right now. The absolute decimation of Palestine. But I'm not going to go after the Jews per se, because the fact is that they kill their own people. They're killing their own people. These are not people of the people. They're not Jewish. They're not Palestinians that are pulling the triggers there. They're globalists. And it's part of the global crime syndicate. And there's people here in the United States. They're falling right in line with them. The ones that are involved with the Dutch banking families and, things that are the American way, Amway.
Yeah.
Screw them. Call them out for it. Everybody call them out, because if you don't, you're guilty. We can't sit on the sidelines.
Absolutely. And, you guys mentioned something about about all those wars. And after World War II, there were no direct immediate threats against America. Nobody from Korea came over and said, we're going to take over America. Nobody from any of the other 128 countries that we sent people over to, Serbia, any of those countries, none of that shit was any of our business. But we made it our business. We made it our business because we wanted to make business. Just like the politicians now are not protecting our capitalism, they are capitalizing on capitalists. You and I are capitalists. These people, these globalists, have taken the capitalist idea and said, that's a great idea. We should do it to all of you. Make you all a profitable money-making machine for me. And the ones that can't have to go. The ones that are not profitable.
You were in Vietnam.
Right.
You served in Vietnam. And Chris and I are good friends. We've known each other for a long time. And I'm going to tell you what, he's taught me so much about history too, and what he went through in Vietnam. I've been studying a little bit. And Robin Olds, are you familiar with him?
Not exactly.
He was a World War II flying ace, and he got called into the Vietnam War, and he was kind of like, everybody loved him because he was one of them. If President Trump did the same thing with, he's done the same thing with the people, but he needs to flush out these people around him that are just in it for the money and go back to the people. The people would step up. We love him. We would step up and we would help him, and we would do it together as one nation. It would be amazing, totally amazing. Robin Olds, you should look at. I'll send you some links on this, but Robin Olds just totally amazing. The politicians set them up to fail. They told them they couldn't fight or shoot at anything that was anti-aircraft that was coming from the Japanese and such. And it was really I'm getting it mixed up right now. I shouldn't quote it, but he was, or the Vietnamese, they made a corridor that they had to fly through so that they were being shot at, and then they were attacking them with Russian MiGs. So they had to drop their payload in order to save, the pilots had to save, they had to just decide whether to, to be shot down or drop the payload because the planes were too slow for the MiGs. Well, Robin came in, and if you want to see a wonderful story on how to subvert politicians, he was brilliant. They were brilliant in how they planned this and how he was able to fly as a World War II flying ace, and they eliminated half of the Vietnamese MiGs that were shooting at us. It was just incredible. What a great story. I was mixing two stories, the ones of Los Banos and the Philippines World War II, and then the Vietnamese or Vietnam War. Amazing.
Well, they had a politician's son, for example, who claimed that he was in the shit, and we were killing children and women and things like that. And he went before Congress. He's the one of the major globalists talking heads right now.
McCain, the pedophile.
Yeah, I think he might engage in that. And I can't say that. I don't know, but I do know that you know, a lot of those politicians or those so-called people that were sent in to police us as to what we were doing, well, they were actually there to try to enforce the policies made by politicians so that it would restrict some of the things in which we were doing to try to capitalize on our enemy. And I can tell you this, that none of those fuckers, none of them had any kind of real, we went in, we did what we had to do because it was either them or us. And no piece of paper is gonna make us not shoot you in the head, but shoot you in the chest down. You know,
it was a politician's war, and it was a war on our military men and women as well as Vietnam.
yeah.
They didn't support. It was a war that it was designed. We were designed just to see people die. And the same thing is happening in the Middle East right now. They just want to see people die. That's it. There's no winning this. Win.
There's no reason. There's no reason. They make up reasons. And then they politicize it, and they start from the ground. Okay, so before the war happens, the CIA is in there on foot and creating the small bullshit that winds up on media that starts changing the minds of the people. And then once that changes, then we can justify a reason as to go in and help one side be victorious over another so that we can democratize that side. And then what we're really doing is we're becoming their slave master, you know, because we're putting in our person, you know, to you know, direct that say Serbia movement or whatever country that we were in, right, at the time. Yeah, other and you know, it's just to take over land.
That's all it's about. So Eric put something on here. It says we should put invading illegal aliens at the furthest northern point of Greenland.
Yeah, good country.
Yeah. Enjoy your nice time on the iceberg here, guys. It's gonna be great. You're gonna love it. You're just gonna love it here. You can fish for food off the iceberg, you know. Hey. We got refrigeration. We don't have to pay electricity for refrigeration. I don't see a downside to this.
I think that we ought to have Obama send a whole bunch of pallet full of money out there and drop it in Greenland so that when we send the Mexicans and whoever's invading our country,
Venezuelans, let's name them all, Haitians that come over, you know.
We can drop over the pallet of money where they can grab the money and then just go buy Cokes.
Oh, you're funny. So yeah, it's all upside down, but I just really think, you know, people are like, be careful what you say. They're gonna, you know, they're probably listening to you. Good. I hope they're listening to me.
Yeah.
You know, let common sense rule the day here, you know. And I'll say it once again. Please, President Trump, please have a private inauguration.
Mm-hmm.
Please have a private one. Don't do this for us. Keep yourself and your family safe. We want you safe. We care. And we will stand with you as the rightful president of the United States. We always would have. going back to 2020, the rightful president of the United States. We will stand with you. We will fight with you. We will do what it takes to restore this nation to a constitutional republic. We are with you.
President Trump, we already know you're elected. You got elected and you got confirmed. Therefore, you are, as of the 20th of January, the president. You can go into a private room with the vice president and the Speaker of the House, and you can sign a form. You can take an oath on a Bible. It can be on camera if you want, but do it privately. I like that idea. Do it privately somewhere where only the three of you, the person doing the camera and the other two, that's it.
Got to have Melania in there. I mean, Melania's got to be there because, it's Melania, and I love Melania. I love Melania. She's awesome.
It's got to be the utmost secure thing that he does, because you're right. It's not something that needs to be public. He's already the president, as of the 20th. In my opinion, he should have sworn his oath, taken the oath the day it was confirmed. And then on the 20th, come out working.
There you go. And give us all a job. Tell us what you want us to do.
Tell us what to do. Tell us what to do.
You're the commander in chief, and you're there to serve. Well, guess what? We're going to serve with you. We want to help. Tell us what you want done. Give us the organization and the plan, and start plugging us in and say, you, and you, let's get her done. We need to do this. And I hope the biggest team on the staff are constitutionalists and nullification experts who can just bring us, say, okay, strike of the pen right here. Gavel this thing out of here. We're done. We're done. Take it down.
Yep. Take down the word Homeland Security. Take that office out, because it used to be the Federal Protection Agency, Federal Protective Service, Federal Protective Officers. And they're the ones that protected. That was our Homeland Security. But they changed that into Homeland Security after the 9/11 coup. Okay. They went ahead and changed everything, just like they changed UFO to UAP, or they change. Look what they're doing. Look what they're doing in California. They've got the military already called in. They've got tanks on the streets in the area of LA where there is no fire.
Yeah,
and Gavin Newsom is proudly standing there saying, we will not tolerate looting. This is a reverse of what he used to tolerate.
Do you think it's him? It doesn't look like him.
No, I don't know.
You have a lot of plastic surgery, I think, to change that out, but I'm just going to, don't know.
But I think
anything's possible there, I suppose.
He uses the same amount of hair gel, I think.
So here's another thing. We have all these balls and events and such in DC. How about we tell everybody, you know what? Show up in work boots and jeans. We're going to go ahead, instead of having these balls and fundraisers, hey, everybody show up in work boots and jeans, because guess what? We got stuff to fix. We're going to go to work. We're not going to celebrate until we finish this fight. I like that idea. We're going to see what I'm still on the fence on everything right now, because it's like fundamentally, there's always more going on than what meets the eye. And as long as it's legal and ethical, I will participate and moral. But if it's something that can be done better, we need to call it out. Why don't we take the balls and take all the money that's been donated and give it back to the American people who are suffering for what's happened with Biden? And then we grab all of these usurpers and we commandeer all of their assets because it was ill-gotten gain. Give it back to the United States people, the people of the United States, and be a help to them.
And we need to close everything that the CIA and the national security state is holding on to. Because how can we go to work for a cause that may be illegal and we know nothing about? We need to first disclose everything so that we then know and have the knowledge of whatever it is, right? And once we understand what they already know, we'll have a bigger picture, a more clear pathway to moving forward.
Yeah, we just need to think outside of the box here a little bit, not just go along, get along, see how that's worked for everybody. And it really hasn't worked well at all, quite honestly. It's not worked at all. Think in a different direction, not just because we become accustomed to it. Unfortunately, most human beings, when they lose something and it's not familiar, they don't realize that sometimes they've traded out for something better, because we mourn the familiar when things go away, instead of, man, let's take the adventure, let's go forward, let's do what the founding fathers did and the people that came to America in the first place. Let's take the adventure that's in front of us and make something really awesome, and not tolerate all of this nonsense that's gone on. We don't have to tolerate this.
Right. This is something that was created outside the bounds of the Constitution. I loved what you said earlier. Let's go back to the beginning, to what our fathers, our founders, wanted this country to be. The framers, what they framed the Constitution originally to be, and start there, because that's what this country is all about. It's not about the 16th Amendment on. It's not about all these added codes, statutes, all these added regulations and laws and agencies. All of that is for the power of this world global get together that President Bush Sr. even stated in one of his speeches that he thinks that it's time for a new world order. He said those words, and that's called globalism.
Bushes were traitors.
Huh?
The Bushes are traitors.
Yeah, because when you include the globe in your Constitution, which only speaks about America, doesn't talk about Germany, doesn't talk about England, it doesn't talk about anything except for us, we the people. And we should get back to being we the people and taking care of us, just like Germany's taking care of Germany, just like Turkey's taking care of Turkey. Israel's trying to take care of Israel.
And the United States. Ooh, I said that right out loud, didn't I?
Ooh, you did.
Ooh, I said that right out loud. Dual citizenship, man, you just got disqualified right there.
Right, because who do we think we are? Like Oprah Winfrey. I'll say her name because she went on air to say if President Trump gets elected, she's moving to another country.
Could we be so lucky?
And I know, and I'm thinking, well, this is great. Go and frickin' stay there. But she only wants to stay for 4 years because she thinks at the end of 4 years, her globalist friends are going to be taking over.
She's a traitor. Either you stand with America as an American, you don't run and hide like a coward somewhere else. Stand and fight, or get out and don't come back.
Or take accountability if you're guilty of something and you're running because of it.
Oh, like John of God that she hung out with?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I said that too, didn't I?
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, let's just piss everybody off. That's always fun. So,
have the papers come in.
What's that?
Have the legal lawsuits coming in.
Yeah, just watch. I'm going to get a knock on my door and I'm going to be like, that's probably a good idea. I think that would be great. We'll just get this whole thing into discovery. Wouldn't be bad. That'd be a good thing.
Bring mine. I'll answer the door.
Answer the door with a lawsuit. Oh, you're here to arrest me? Great. Lawsuit's ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
Too fun.
Yep.
Well, it is 11. I actually thought I was going to be off by now. I got to find out what happened to Ryan Matta because, well, let's see what's happening here. Sent him a couple of messages this morning, no response. So I hope he's okay. He goes into pretty scary situations. I always try to cut people slack because you just don't know. Sometimes, it's like there's been a couple of times that all of a sudden I didn't know where you were at. And I'm like, what happened? There's good reason for it. And let's see, let me check email and see one more check to see if we got our time zones crossed. That happens once in a while. And we'll have to revisit this and see what happens. So that's what we do, boys and girls. Real news for real people by real people at the kitchen table. And sometimes there's a glitch, but it's at least real.
Yeah.
Not scripted. You couldn't script out something this random.
And the better thing about all of this is that God's in control of all of it. That's like, ooh, you just froze up. Oh, all Chris had to do is say God's in control, and he just froze up. That's okay. I'll finish it. He'll be back. God's in control, and we don't have anything to worry about. It's going to be great. That's why we can tackle these very difficult subjects, and that's why we do tackle them on Brandenburg News Network. Here, I'm just going to call Chris. We'll just do it by phone. This will be great, unless he pops back on again. Are you there? I'm seeing motion. Hey, that was funny. You're on. You said you're on by phone now. You said God's in control, and whammo, you were gone. Poof, gone is Chris. How about that?
Yeah, can't do that. You can't say those naughty words like China, God, all those other things that they've like waged war against. That's okay. We'll just say them anyway. Take me down.
Satan,
I'll pop
Satan
up on
Satan must have been loving the hate part of it. And then all of a sudden I had to mention that name.
Yeah, you had to say the name of God.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden,
okay.
Ooh, that's okay. That's okay. We can double down on this too and say Jesus and Yeshua too, and watch what happens. And lose their freaking mind, you know? So,
Absolutely.
Well, let's say a prayer and we'll go on to our day. I'm going to pray for justice. And I'm also going to pray. I'm also going to pray that President Trump gets this message and knows it's out of absolute love, protection, and wanting to protect him and his family. And I think that's what I want to pray for today, and have that sanity would reign, and that he would do a private inauguration and put America to work. All of us.
Yes, that sounds good.
Let's claw all the money back from the politicians that were money laundering in Ukraine and everywhere else for that matter, and then give it back to the United States, the people of the United States. I like that idea.
Yes.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very much for this opportunity to talk about very difficult issues, and let everybody else out there know that the wrongs we see in the world, most of us can't even relate to this. We don't think this way. We don't think like psychopaths. We think in a way that wants to benefit. We care about each other. We care about your creation. We care about the world the beautiful world that you built for us to live in. And we want to serve you here. We love our nation, and we love the world, all the world's people. We really, really do not like nor are happy with the globalists that are running things. Today and this week, we start this week out Monday, coming up on the inauguration that we're days away from. And we ask that you would protect President Trump, his entire family. We ask that you would put it upon his heart and those around him to protect him, to give him a private inauguration, to put us to work, to serve this nation, to serve our communities, our neighbors, our family, and our friends, and those that are in need. You've told us to take care of orphans and widows. We want to take care of this world that you've put us in. We're not babies. You've prepared us. You've shown us how to walk, and you walk with us. And by your strength and by your might, we're going to continue to go forward and on a mission to destroy evil in every incarnation that it's taken. We absolutely love you so much, and we want to be like you. We thank you for every single good work that anyone does out there in your name, because they care. We thank you for the talents and the gifts that you built into everyone. We're so different. Everybody's so different, and we want to work together. We know that we are not perfect. We're all sinners. We're sinners saved by your precious only begotten Son and the sacrifice and the redemption and the atonement that he made for us, that we can come to you and talk to you and call you Abba Father, and know that when we do make mistakes, we can tell you, screwed up, so sorry. I promise I'm not going to do it again, and repent and walk and become more like you every single day. We want to be like you. You're the only one that's perfect. You sent your only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, and who lived a perfect life, and he didn't throw a stone. He sat with people that were, I can't even believe that he came here to be with us in all of the things that are wrong, and that you see all of it, and you still abide with us, and you'll never leave and forsake us. It is incredible. And I wish to be just like you. And I think everybody out there who has your spirit, who the Holy Spirit walking with us, we grieve in our sin and the things that we do wrong. We want to be like you in every single thing we do, things that come out of our mouth, works of our hand, and the walk of our feet. We want to be like you, and we thank you for everything you've done for us, for making a way, and for salvation in Jesus Christ. We thank you for what you gave for us, the incredible, unspeakable gift you've given us. We are grateful. And you've been a wonderful friend to us, and we want to be a friend to you also. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So with that said, I got to put Chris down here. I'll put my phone down over here. There you go, Chris. You're on your own by the microphone. With that said, it's time for that time of the day, boys and girls, to ding, 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 ding. Go to brandenburgforgovernor.com, because I'm the best non-conceder who's ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And I want to have a discussion with the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, in cowboy boots. And I will not be paying $150,000 to talk to the man. Ain't happening. Okay. So, but I want to talk to him about what we've seen here, and just say thank you to everyone who stood for the United States, for what's good, and for the kingdom of God. Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done, everyone out there. It's extraordinary. What a time to be alive, to see such great evil and also such great good and goodness that God has put into human beings. I'm proud to stand with you as an American, as part of the family of God. I'm so proud, and I'm so thankful to be here with all of you. And with that said, God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love. And God bless America. Make it a great day. Be a force for good. And let God carry you and lead you and be with you. And it's going to be a great day. Make it so. Starts here, mentally tough, and here. Get on your knees and pray to God. And let's make this a week of prayer for the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, and his family. We need to be in prayer, earnest prayer, consistent prayer, and prayer of gratitude and thankfulness in everything God's done for us. We'll see you tomorrow, and have a great day.
Take care.